Well, welcome to Your In Depth, where we walk through and break down our favorite fictional universes. Today, we are going to begin our journey in the last film of The Lord of the Rings, in that we are covering Return of the King. This will be our part one coverage, so it will go from the beginning of the movie until approximately an hour and 22 seconds in. How you doing, Evan?
I saw a fly.
Cool. Did you eat it?
I couldn't catch it.
Okay. Well, any Lord of the Rings news?
No, nothing that I've seen.
I want to apologize to the listener if there's just some awkwardness, some weird like pauses, whatever's going on. I don't know. We started covering the Book of Boba Fett, and with that, we have upped our upload schedule to 3 episodes a week. That means that this is our very last recording for tonight. We have been sitting here for 3 hours. And
we started at like 9.
Yeah.
We've been sitting here for like...
Oh, it might be. Yeah.
Like going on 4 hours now.
4, yeah. Either way. So this is the final kind of stretch, the final one. But this is hour 4. So, if there's any... we're probably a little exhausted, I'd say. Mentally and vocally. But... hey, we're going to continue because Lord of the Rings.
Yeah. So, yeah, I haven't seen any sort of Lord of the Rings news or anything like that. So, I mean, I think we can just kind of get right into...
Sounds good.
The episode. I'll do a brief... recap. I'm not going to go into a bunch of specific events like before, just because I've gone over those multiple times already in prior episodes. But some of the big events, that happened, with Frodo all the way back in the first movie, Frodo getting stabbed at Weathertop after he and, Sam, Merry, and Pippin all set out on their adventure. They met up with Aragorn at Bree. Frodo got stabbed at Weathertop. They get to Rivendell. Fellowship starts and they take off. Losing Gandalf and Moria to the Balrog, and then losing Boromir there towards the end of the first movie, with their first encounter with the Uruk-hai, Saruman's soldiers. So the Fellowship loses, 2 of its members. One of them being, the leader of the Fellowship, Gandalf, and losing Boromir, and then the Fellowship splits up. With Frodo and Sam going their own way, Merry and Pippin being taken by the Uruk-hai, Legolas, Aragorn, and Gimli all hunting the Uruk-hai to try and save Merry and Pippin. It's kind of the overall happenings of the first movie. Second movie, following Aragorn and company are still after the Merry and Pippin. Frodo and Sam make their way closer to Mount Doom. They find Gollum, or Gollum finds them, and they capture him. He becomes their guide. Merry and Pippin are in Fangorn with Treebeard and all the Ents, while Aragorn, Legolas, and Gimli meet Gandalf the White, and they make their way to Edoras, the capital of Rohan, to try and help with the impending war that's happening there. With Rohan fleeing to Helm's Deep, along the way they get attacked by some warg riders, with a smaller battle ensuing there. They get to Helm's Deep. We have the big battle of Helm's Deep, with the 10,000 plus Uruk-hai attacking, and with elves arriving to help the men of Rohan. Gandalf at one point had left and goes and finds Éomer and brings him there to save everybody there at Helm's Deep, because they were going to lose. King Theoden, leads a charge with Aragorn and Legolas and what's left of his men. One final charge for death and glory, but Gandalf shows up at the right time, saving their lives, and, they end up winning the Battle of Helm's Deep. And then we see the Ents attack Isengard, breaking the dam, flooding Isengard, really basically just shutting Saruman down, and that's that for Saruman. He's still hanging out in his tower, but all of his factories and whatnot are destroyed under submerged underwater. His whole army was wiped out because as those Uruk-hai had fled from Helm's Deep after they Eomer and them showed up, they got killed by the moving trees and whatnot. And so we kind of left off on a high note really with the second movie, because the first one ended on that low note. The fellowship's broken up. We lost Boromir and Gandalf. That low note, like, oh crap, what's gonna happen next? But the second one ended with this high note, the victory of Helm's Deep, the victory at Isengard. Frodo and Sam were captured by Faramir and taken to Osgiliath, where a battle ensued, and Faramir lets them go, so they're continuing on their way to Mount Doom with Gollum. But yeah, and as I had said in the last episode where we covered the final part of the Two Towers, right here in the beginning, I'll say this now instead of interrupting when we get to that point, but besides the opening scene that we get here of Return of the King, that second scene that we get is events book-wise still happens in the Two Towers, but movie-wise happens in the Return of the King. And that was basically Peter Jackson wanting to do it this way, so that way the second movie ended on a high note and not with just kind of like a sputtering off type effect.
Yeah.
But we do open up with the Return of the King, and we see two, I want to call them hobbits, but they're not technically hobbits. Two guys in a boat fishing.
River people.
Yeah, river people fishing, and they are very similar to hobbits. It's just like, I would say you could basically think of them as hobbits that left the Shire, made their own little, villages and whatnot along the river, and are now known as river people.
Yeah,
but there's
sure.
two of them out on a little, like a little dinghy boat, fishing, nice and peaceful and whatnot. And one of them gets a fish on the line and struggling with it a little bit, and he actually gets pulled into the water. And he holds on to, his fishing pole for a little bit and gets dragged all the way down to the bottom.
Yeah, so during this, first we do get their names.
I can skip past real quick if you want, yeah.
Yeah, now I'm backtracking. How does it feel?
It's a little off-putting. What is this?
Dude, I've been doing that more recently, where I just resort to like stupid mockery.
Yeah.
Like you just there, I'm just like, like it's so toxic, and I apologize. Anyway, the names, we do get that one of them is Smeagol, and the other is Deagle.
Yeah.
So they're obviously brothers. Are they though? I guess.
I'm not sure. I don't think it specifies.
It probably doesn't specify. I think that it's probably pretty easily.
I think it's a pretty safe bet. Yeah.
Generally, when like you see all these freaking Boromir and Faramir, okay,
Yeah.
siblings often somehow for some freaking reason.
Aramir and Eowyn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think it's a pretty safe bet. Say if not brothers, at least like cousins or something like that.
They're related, probably.
Yeah.
But regardless, I guess we don't need to know that necessarily. But it's kind of it's. I think so.
But so Deagle is the one that actually gets pulled down into the water as he had a fish on the line, and holds onto his fishing pole for a little longer than he should have, and he gets pulled like all the way to the bottom, and something catches his eye as he lets go of the fishing pole, and we see that he finds a ring sitting there at the bottom of the river there. And he swims back up, gets on shore as Smeagol gets to shore off the boat and comes over, and they start wrestling over this ring. Smeagol claiming that, it's his birthday and he wants it. And, at one point they're both looking at it, and they both like just had this look on their face of like, wow, look at it, whoa, you
It's
know,
like you when you find the perfect tasting crayon.
basically. It's the green
Yeah.
ones. It's the forest green ones. They're the best.
I always like the blue ones. I think they're blue raspberry. I'm always wrong, but
But they start wrestling over this ring, and Smeagol actually strangles and kills Deagle simply to get this ring. And you know, we can obviously tell once we get a good look at the ring that it is the One Ring. You know, especially knowing you know, that Smeagol had the ring for a while after, you know, our coverage of, you know, The Hobbit and then, you know, the other two Lord of the Rings movies.
which I kind of go ahead. Sorry.
Like you can, if you cannot piece together that Smeagol in this scene is Smeagol / Gollum, just as watching this scene where it's at as they're wrestling, like, sorry, you should probably go get checked.
Well, thing that's interesting though too is somewhere in here amongst their thing, Smeagol was struggling with Gollum before he got the ring. It's almost like he had split personality beforehand, and then this just amplified and worsened it.
It's possible. I can definitely see it. I would guess that, because when we kind of see that, I would guess it's more likely the ring influencing. Because
It just seems like so instant, you know?
Yeah, it's a very quick, like, it's ours and we wants it. Like, you know, that Gollum talk. I can definitely see what you're saying, yeah.
I don't know. But anyway, yeah. Smeagol kills Deagle.
Yeah, and so, yeah, Smeagol strangles Deagle, you know, takes the ring out of his hand. And we start to see the transformation from Smeagol to Gollum. And we get a Gollum kind of like narration of it, you know, saying, you know, they cursed us, they called us murderer, drove us away, you know, like narrating, kind of being like, they did this to us, blah, blah, blah. And he starts to get like that rasp in his throat with the whole Gollum thing. And this whole transition here where we see Smeagol turn into Gollum really grosses me out. Watching him turn from a relatively normal looking person to this creature, especially in one scene where he like grabs a fish out of the water and just starts eating it raw, and like it's showing his teeth as he's missing teeth and they're chipped away, and it's just like, ew.
Yeah, it's not very pleasant.
No, it's really gross.
But yeah, we see Smeagol's transformation. In the narration, is said that he forgets the taste of bread due to scavenging and eating fish. So it's like just kind of become feral.
Yeah, and because, you know, we're told that Gollum had the ring for 500 years and that it kind of tortured him and warped his mind, but you don't get to see it until here.
Yeah.
To see him change, see like his face kind of get warped and mutated, you know, as he's doing this, like the bare minimum to survive, essentially.
Yeah.
But after it kind of ends that transition with him, it does jump to Frodo and Sam, who are sleeping, or Sam's sleeping. Frodo's distracted by the ring because it's consuming him, basically, you know. And, you know, Gollum pokes his head down saying, you know, they got to wake up, got to get going. And then they have like an earthquake kind of happens. Kind of, you know, worrying them. I don't know, there's not really a whole lot. I mean, I guess the main emphasis here in terms of like describing it is they're running low on food.
Yeah.
You know, they're running low on food. Frodo's becoming more and more weary. The ring's taking a little more effect on him, like he's not sleeping and that type of stuff.
Yeah. Sam gives Frodo some bread, comments that they don't have much food left and need to ration it.
Frodo eats a bit, and they keep moving along.
Yeah. And so
Then
they do have
we-
the Lembas bread still. If you remember back to the first movie, Legolas says one bite will fill the stomach of a grown man, and we just see Frodo bite, bite, bite. Like, does the
Yeah.
effect of this bread just kind of wear off after some time, or what?
Maybe he's just super hungry. I don't know. I mean,
I don't
Merry
know.
and Pippin ate 4 of them.
Yeah.
Anyway, we cut ahead to Aragorn, Legolas, Gimli, Gandalf, and some others that are moving
so-
through Fangorn.
This is the part that I was referring to. This is actually technically the end of the book of the Two Towers with Aragorn and
Them walking through Fangorn?
yeah.
It's kind of a...
So them walking through Fangorn
guess
and
it's
the
not
events
as-
that happen right after they come out of Fangorn. And
Oh.
this
Okay.
is still Fangorn, but since the trees have moved and whatnot, Fangorn is right up against the wall of what's left of Isengard. But it is still Fangorn Forest. Mm-hmm.
We do get
Sorry.
we get the title card just saying Return of the King.
Yeah.
We see an overlook of Isengard, which is flooded, you know. We hear Merry laughing, and we see him and Pippin eating and smoking the pipe weed. They just continue to giggle a bit until they see the group approaching. Gimli yells at them for just eating and smoking as they've had a horrible journey before them. Like we're out here, we've done all this. You guys are just, you know. Yeah. And then Merry comments that they're just enjoying some well-earned comforts and that the salted pork is particularly good. And
Gimli's mouth just starts to water. He's like,
oh, salted pork, huh?
yeah.
Yeah, he gets hungry and interested.
Yeah.
Gandalf, just under his breath, he just goes, huh, hobbits. Mm-hmm.
Kind of scoffs at him.
Yeah. Merry then comments that Treebeard has taken over management of Isengard. He says that Saruman is locked in his tower. Gandalf says that they need Saruman alive so that he can talk.
Yeah. And in the background, too, if you look, you can see Ents, other Ents holding giant boulders, like smashing them against the tower of Orthanc there in Isengard and not doing anything to the tower. And I've talked about, why before with it. The material makeup of the tower and all that. I won't go back into that again. But
Yeah.
yeah, Ents are trying to, either smash it down or smash a hole in to get in. Whatever their purpose, they're trying to damage it and it's not working. Yeah. And it kind of going in the background as they're talking.
But Saruman comes out and talks to them. He asks for peace with Theoden. Theoden basically replies with, yeah, we can have peace when you've paid for what you've done. Mm-hmm. Gandalf tries to get Saruman to save those who are at risk. He pulls out his seeing eye thing, Saruman does, saying that there's something Gandalf has failed to see, but the great eye has seen it. Saruman says that they are all going to die. Saruman says that Aragorn will never rule as king, Frodo is doomed, and so on. Gandalf says that Saruman will be spared if he comes down, but Saruman shoots a firebolt at Gandalf, consuming him, but it dissipates to show that Gandalf was untouched.
Yeah, just basically, I just imagine that Gandalf does a similar shield thing that he does against the Balrog in the first movie. When the Balrog goes to hit him with his flame sword and he does his shield thing with the staff. I imagine he does something similar.
Yeah. But he's untouched, and Saruman almost looks like, what the heck? Seriously? And Gandalf tells Saruman that his staff is broken. Meanwhile, Saruman's staff explodes apart.
Yeah.
Grima comes up.
At this point, between Saruman and Gandalf, since Gandalf has basically been reborn as Gandalf the White, and as I kind of talked about before in the second movie, he is what Saruman should have been. Gandalf's more powerful than Saruman is now. And so Gandalf basically just asserts his dominance over, or Gandalf asserts his asserts his dominance over Saruman. Like, yeah, your fire did nothing. Snap. Oh, look, your staff broke. Oh, darn.
Yeah. And Grima comes up behind Saruman, and Theoden shouts up at Grima, saying that he needs not follow Saruman. He was once a man of Rohan. Saruman badmouths Rohan a little bit, basically calling it a trash place. Starts insulting Theoden. Theoden continues to offer freedom to Grima. Saruman just slaps Grima across the face, knocks him down, and Gandalf asks for information.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Grima pulls out a dagger and stabs Saruman in the back twice before Legolas draws an arrow and shoots Grima in kind of the upper chest area.
Upper chest. Or I guess technically lower chest, upper stomach, right in that region.
Mm-hmm. But Saruman gets stabbed in the back and falls. What, you were about to say something?
I was just going to say, after you were saying Saruman falls and he lands on like this kind of like a wheel for one of his factories that he had. But those events right there with Saruman and Grima are not how they happen in the book. Not even close.
How they happen in the book?
Both Saruman and Grima survive. And so, do you remember back in the first movie when they're all in Lothlorien and Frodo's looking into that pool of water and he sees potential futures with the Shire and them being enslaved and whatnot?
Mm-hmm.
So, in the book, and I'll say this now because we don't get to see it in the movie, because in the first movie they kind of added that potential future as kind of a nod to specific events that happen in the third book. So in the third book, after the events of the movie, of what we see here, Saruman and Grima actually survive this encounter, are basically sent into exile by Gandalf, and they go to the Shire, and that potential future of the Shire that we see in the first movie, Grima and Saruman do that to the Shire. Oh. That actually happens in the third book, and so once the story is over with from what we see in the third movie, and the heroes return home, blah 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 blah. Well, now the hobbits have to free the Shire from the grasps of Saruman and Grima.
Huh.
Because they literally go there and they enslave the entirety of the Shire and just do terrible things. Like I said, everything that we see in that potential future back in the first movie, where Frodo's looking into that pool of water with Galadriel, is what Saruman and Grima do to the Shire.
Dang.
Yeah, and so when Peter Jackson was making the movies, he was saying, we're not going to add that part. We're not going to put that part into the third movie because it happens right at the end of the third book. Is when it takes place. But he decided, you know what, we'll do it like this, give a nod to it, acknowledge that it was there in the books, but we really just don't really have time to put it in the movie, with the movie already being 4.5 hours long. And so that they kind of just kind of did a nod to it instead. But another cool thing as well, with this scene where Saruman gets stabbed in the back, Peter Jackson was standing there talking to Christopher Lee, saying, you get stabbed in the back and you kind of yell out in pain. And Christopher Lee goes, "Do you know what noise people make when they get stabbed?" He goes, "No." He's like, "It's not a yell. It's kind of an intake in breath, like a gasp, like the breath is driven from their body. I know that sound. I've done it before. I know what what that sound is. I'm very familiar with it." Because Christopher Lee, back in World War II, was basically like special forces, and after World War II ended, Christopher Lee went and hunted down Nazi survivors. And so like he is before his passing, you know, like he was very familiar with what it sounded like to be stabbed in the back, to kill someone, to shoot them, to kill them unarmed. He was well aware of it. And Christopher Lee tells this to Peter Jackson, and Peter Jackson just goes, "Do it your way. Yep, do it. You know what you're doing. Go for it." And just like the fact that Christopher Lee's like, "No, that's not how that works, man. This is how that works." I just have to imagine Peter Jackson just like, "Oh, damn."
Yeah, he's just like, okay, I don't want to be in his trailer or anywhere else. Though out there they probably didn't have trailers, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, I just thought that was really cool because, you know, like Peter Jackson's like, yeah, you get stabbed in the back a couple times, you just kind of yell out in pain. He's like, no, that's not how that works. I'm going to do it this way. This is how that goes. You do you, man. You do you.
But anyway, at this point, I do want to throw out, it's not even an ad. I think that we should do our sponsor. It's roughly 30 minutes in, but I do just want to do a quick public service announcement before the sponsor. So malice and deceit are so prevalent today that distrust is perfectly reasonable. Even when you think you sit atop a high tower, there are and there are people there to serve you. Some may just stab you in the back. So be careful of who you surround yourself with. The view is pretty from up top, but it's a long fall from there. I don't know, man. Anyway, yeah. Let's actually have our ad break. It might be a little early, but resuming. But yeah, resuming. Saruman falls off the tower, gets completely skewered. He drops his seeing ball thing that then sinks into some water. It continues going around as he's still impaled on this wheel thing and just submerges him.
Yeah.
But Pippin grabs that ball and gives it to Gandalf.
Yeah, and so also with this scene, like the second half of it where Saruman gets stabbed and then Legolas shoots Grima, extended scene.
So in theatrical, did Saruman he's no longer in the movie?
Just kind of F's off. Yeah.
Well,
Saruman basically tells Gandalf to go shove it and says, you know, something's happened that you didn't see. And then it cuts to Gandalf saying, right where we're at, where he's like, you know, the enemy moves against us. We need to know where he's going to strike. Basically, like, send out riders, figure out what's going on. And you don't know what happens to Saruman.
Yeah.
Or Grima. Basically, Saruman just kind of F's off.
Well, another case for extended edition being better.
Yeah.
We cut to the group riding, and then they're at Edoras. Theoden raises a toast, and they feast as celebration to their victory at Helm's Deep.
Yeah.
Gimli and Legolas, go ahead.
So just real quick, that ball, it's the Palantir for future reference. The name of that ball thing that Pippin picked up. Mm-hmm. It's called the Palantir.
Palantir?
Yes. We actually see that in the first movie when Gandalf first goes to Isengard.
Yeah.
And they call it like one of the seeing stones. But yeah, the official term of it is a Palantir because there's multiple of them throughout Middle Earth.
I see.
But anyways, they're at Edoras.
Right, and Gimli and Legolas compete in a drinking game.
Another extended edition.
Yeah. The rules of this game, last one standing wins. Meanwhile, Eowyn gives Aragorn a drink and says something in Elvish. Theoden comes in and talks to Eowyn. He says that tonight is for her. Like, basically saying, enjoy yourself, you know. This is a celebration, and yeah. But Gimli and Legolas just continue pounding drinks. Legolas says he feels a tingling in his fingers, and he thinks that the alcohol is affecting him.
So
Gimli.
one thing I love with this though is if you look at their pile of empty mugs, right?
Uh-huh.
Legolas's are all nice and set, nice and aligned and whatnot, and Gimli's is just a pile of empty mugs tipped over and on top of each other.
Yeah.
It just cracks me up.
Yeah, it's funny. Gimli is slobbery and messy, slurring his words, and he says, "See, he can't hold his liquor," and then he just passes out. And Legolas just kind of sets down a mug, and he's like, "Yeah, game over."
Yeah, I just think it's funny that, you know, they both drank the same amount, and Legolas is like, I might be tipsy. I might be feeling this. Just maybe.
Meanwhile,
And Gimli is like,
yeah. Meanwhile, Merry and Pippin sing and dance on the table, and Gandalf just watches them. Aragorn asks Gandalf if there's any news about Frodo, and neither of them know the status of Frodo, but they express hope that he is alive. Cut over to Sam and Frodo and Gollum, and Gollum is asleep and starts to mutter and argue, at first in his sleep and then awake, talking to a reflection in the water. He revisits his past, saying he's killed once and he can do it again. But Smeagol says they first must lead them to her. Smeagol explains the way they're taking, upstairs and into a tunnel. She is always hungry. There will be no coming out of that tunnel. That's what he says.
and I told you who she was
Yep.
after we finished recording the final episode of The Two Towers. But we will get to see her very, very soon. So
Sam wakes up and hears some of this. Sam approaches Gollum, screaming at him and hitting him. Frodo spares Smeagol, saying that they need him. I'm going back and forth between saying Smeagol and Gollum. They're interchangeable. Get used to it. Smeagol smirks at Sam, though, as Frodo leads him away, kind of like a screw you.
yeah, Sam's like, Frodo, like, he's trying to kill us. He's going to betray us. Like, what are you doing? And Frodo's like, nah, fam, he good. It's like, Frodo, come on. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah. We cut over to Gimli snoring and Pippin trying to sleep. Éowyn is asleep on a chair in the middle of the room. Aragorn approaches the fire that's right next to her and kind of stirs it around. He tucks Éowyn in, and she starts telling of a dream that she had, a great wave coming over the lands. Aragorn tells her to sleep while she can and leaves her.
Yeah, and like I said before, especially like with this dream that Éowyn has within Middle-earth, as I've said before, you know, dreams are very symbolic within this universe. So, like, she has this dream, and she sees it as, like, terrible things are coming, like we're all doomed, basically. You know, he's just kind of like, they're trying to, like, it's going to be okay, you know, the sun will rise again, it'll be all right, go back to sleep.
He goes outside to look across the land, and he sees Legolas there, who says the stars are veiled and something stirs in the east. He says
Referring
the
to
eye...
Mordor.
Yeah.
Anybody that's kind of confused on that, referring to Mordor.
Yeah. And he says the eye of the enemy is moving. Meanwhile, Pippin is still restless. He gets up and goes over to Gandalf, who is somehow sleeping with his eyes open.
Gandalf's a real G, man.
Yeah.
Gangsta.
Yeah. Part of that dry eye gang, boy.
My homie. But yeah, Gandalf is laying there sleeping with the Palantir wrapped in like a cloak or a towel of some kind.
But he takes the Palantir, Pippin does, and looks at it. And as he's looking, he sees the eye of Sauron. And we hear Sauron say, "I see you," as the orb is almost on fire.
Well, because Sauron has a Palantir, and all the Palantir are connected. And so, of the known Palantir that are out there, if I'm not mistaken, Gondor has one. Now, Gandalf has this one now after, taking it from Saruman. And then one is now with Sauron. And there's more out there, but it's unknown where they're at. That's why, like, back in the first movie, Gandalf was saying, like, we shouldn't see this. They're not all accounted for. We don't know who's watching. All of that. Because they didn't know that Sauron had one. And so that's how Sauron is communicating to Pippin through the Palantir, because he has one of his own.
But, yeah, the Palantir is almost, like, on fire. He passes it around, kind of like trying not to hold it or whatever. I don't know.
He starts I don't want to say spasm because that's not the right word. Like retch and like kind of twist and whatnot, like he's being tortured almost.
Yeah. Gandalf runs over and covers it and shouts, "Fool of a Took." Pippin, I think he's just dead here. Like, I think it killed him. But Gandalf brings him back. Whatever is going on, Gandalf brings him out of it.
I don't know for sure, but I think it's definitely possible.
Yeah.
I think it's definitely possible that Sauron was just like, "Hey, Pippin, you're dead." And Pippin died. And then Gandalf was like, "Hey, Pippin, you're alive." And Pippin's alive again.
That's what it seems to have happened,
and they're just
but I don't know.
Playing like hot potato with Pippin's life.
Yeah. But immediately Pippin, when he gets up, he's just immediately like very remorseful. He's like, "Forgive me, Gandalf. Like, I'm so sorry. I know that I messed up," immediately. Gandalf asks Pippin, though, what he saw. Pippin says that he saw a white tree in a courtyard of stone, but it was dead. He then says he saw a city burning. He saw him. He says that he could hear a voice in his head. Gandalf asks Pippin his name. No. Sauron asked Pippin his name, but he did not reply. He also didn't reveal anything about the ring either. Yeah,
and so what Gandalf kind of confirms it as well when Pippin's talking about that the tree burning. He says, Minas Tirith, like that's what you saw. Like, is that what you saw? And it's kind of like he saw Minas Tirith burning.
Apparently Minas Tirith, will be under attack, so they need to warn Gondor, but Theoden is reluctant. So Gandalf, Merry, and Pippin set out. Merry is very upset with Pippin. Gandalf puts Pippin onto Shadowfax, and he and Pippin ride out. Merry stays behind, gives a bit of pipeweed as a parting gift, unsure if they'll even meet again.
Yeah, and because, like you had said, with this happening, like, Theoden is very hesitant, like, why should we go help them? Why go help them, those that did not help us? And it really leaves, like, Gandalf and Aragorn and them, like, what the heck, man? Like, come on,
Mm-hmm.
And, like, I can see where Theoden's coming from here. Like, his entire country was, like, burning, and, Saruman just raised hell throughout Rohan, and Gondor was nowhere to be seen. But also he's not taking into account that Gondor has been and still is holding off Mordor all by itself. So, it's like I can see where he's coming from. Like, why help someone when we were in the thick of it, they did nothing. I can see that part of it, but he's not taking into account that they had their own problems to deal with.
Yeah. Merry watches as Gandalf and Pippin ride off, and he talks of being alone. Aragorn reassures him.
Yeah, and so one thing that Gandalf does tell Aragorn before he leaves is that Aragorn needs to come to Minas Tirith from a different road. Follow the river, look to the black ships. Seems very not important, but it's important.
Okay.
Yeah.
We cut and see the elves walking through the forest. Arwen and everyone there, all the elves. Arwen sees a kid running around and sees an old Aragorn pick up the kid. It's obviously an illusion, but kind of foresight or whatever. But she sees basically what her future could be. The kid is wearing her necklace.
Yeah.
She hears Elrond's voice saying that there's nothing for her there. She closes her eyes and opens them to see that the hallucination thing is gone.
Yeah, and
Someone tells her they cannot delay. Go ahead.
yeah, and this is like because I kind of said it before when we had a quick scene back in Rivendell with Arwen and Elrond in the last movie. Like, she's seeing a potential future, but it's like Elrond said in, like, the second movie, like, the chances of that future happening are, like, slim to none. Like it's, like, 0.00001% chance of that future happening, you know? But she's, in this scene here, she's like, no, it's possible. Like, I can't just give up on it type of thing, you know?
Mm-hmm. But she rides back home. She takes off, leaves the group. She approaches Elrond and asks what he saw in his foresight. He says death, and she says life. And brings up the kid, being like, no, you saw life. You know, this is... Arwen walks into that room that has the broken sword and asks Elrond to reforge it. Elrond talks to Arwen, saying the life of the Eldar is leaving her. She says it was her choice.
Yeah.
Elrond has the sword reforged.
Yeah, and as it's kind of, as she's looking at the sword as well, we hear kind of almost like a little bit of a narration from Arwen as well. And it's kind of like a prophecy within Middle Earth. And I think it starts with, what's the start of it? Yeah, so from the start of it is like, from the ashes of fire shall be woken. You know, it gives a short little narration that she gives, but it's basically like the prophecy of like a king returning to, you know, unite the men of the West together to, you know, stand against the evil type of prophecy that she's kind of reciting here. As, you know, Elrond has, as you said, you know, Elrond has the blade that was broken reforged. And that blade actually has its own name. Yeah, while it's, you know, when way back in the first movie, and we get a little bit of the flashback here in the scene with Isildur, that blade is called Narsil.
Yep.
Yeah.
That is a mod for Blade and Sorcery. I was kind of disappointed, though, because you only could get the broken version.
Oh,
You were
really?
Stabbing people with it, but I was like trying to find the completed one, but nah.
Yeah.
Oh, well. I'll settle with Gerald's.
Yeah. But yeah, the main thing here is reforging the sword. Because, you know, after Isildur cut the ring from Sauron's hand with it, it becomes this iconic, like, this sword stopped the Dark Lord type of, you know, symbol. And so they're like, if we reforge this, like, it'll rekindle hope. It's got power to it. Because it does have some elven make to it. So it does have a little bit of that magic imbued into it, as most elven things do. And, you know, the other big takeaway of this is, like you said, Arwen kind of becoming mortal. You know, the life of the Eldar leaving her, that whole thing.
Yeah. We cut to Gandalf and Pippin rushing across the land, passing into the realm of Gondor. They cross a hill and see Minas Tirith.
Minas Tirith.
Minas Tirith. Sometimes, like, I say it a couple times, I look it up, I understand the pronunciation, and then I'm reading through my notes, and it leaves me. But anyway, it's City of Kings.
Yeah. And so
yeah.
this city as well, up until, in terms of how old this world is and whatnot, up until not too long ago, this was just kind of like a city slash fortress, with Osgiliath being the capital of Gondor. And then after Osgiliath fell, this just kind of, they're like, well, this is our new capital. So, but I mean, because we get a full shot of it, you know, and it's like it's pretty big, pretty cool looking city, you know, like fortress structure, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah. They ride through the city though, making their way all the way up to the top, finally reaching the courtyard, and we do see that tree is dead. The white one that he referred to.
Yeah.
They go to enter the Great Hall area, and Gandalf tells Pippin that they are about to see Boromir's father. To mention his son's death would be unwise. Also, don't mention Frodo and the ring. And then he goes to go in, turns back. Maybe it's best not to say anything at all.
Yeah.
And then goes, and they enter.
Yeah, before they enter too, with the tree, you're probably sitting there like, man, that's just a stupid tree. What about it? Right?
Well, wasn't
Probably.
it alive when I think he ended up explaining it a little bit, but wasn't it like alive and glowing and whatever when there was a king?
Yeah, so when Gondor had a king, a descendant from like Isildur and them, the tree was alive and it was blooming and it was like this majestic thing to look at. And when the line of kings fail, you know, when, you know, Gondor no longer has kings and the stewards start kind of taking over, like ruling Gondor, the tree just dies. And it's like, it's a connection there, you know. As long as the line of kings is intact and is solid, the tree's alive. But as soon as it goes away, the tree's like, screw this, I'm gonna die. And so we do see, actually what I think they look really cool, those guards right there around the tree. And they're guards of the Citadel. I think they look really cool. They just look really dope. They're like elite troops, like elite Gondor soldiers. I think they look dope.
Yeah. They approach Denethor, though, who is hunched over. Denethor is holding...
Son of Ecthelion. That guy that Thranduil mentions back in The Hobbit, Battle of Five Armies, after the fighting is over.
Mm-hmm.
Or no. When he tells Bard that he can take the Arkenstone to Gondor and sell it to Ecthelion. That's what it is.
Oh.
That's Denethor's father that he's referencing there.
Well, Denethor is holding the horn thing that was Boromir's, saying, "Perhaps you have come to tell me why my son is dead." Pippin gets flashbacks of Boromir's death, and Pippin speaks up, saying that Boromir died protecting him. He kneels in front of Denethor and offers his service as payment of this debt.
So
Denethor asks, go ahead.
It's basically like Pippin feels responsible for Boromir dying. You know, like Pippin's like, that's my fault. Like, if I wasn't there, if he didn't have to defend me and Merry, he might still be alive today. Like, and like you said, he offers his service to Denethor. Like, I know it's not much. Like, I know, you know, my service is going to be nothing compared to, you know, having your son back. But like, I'll do whatever I can to try and repay his sacrifice, type of thing.
Mm-hmm. Denethor asks why Pippin is alive, and Pippin responds saying that Boromir was pierced by many arrows. Gandalf warns Denethor about the war coming, and Denethor responds in bitterness, saying that the rule of Gondor is his, not any other's.
Yeah, and because he also mentions too, he says something along the lines, because Gandalf says, you know, to light the beacons, you know, call for aid, you know, Theoden of Rohan will come and like help you. And Denethor is like, oh, I see what you're doing. You know, you use one hand to, you know, hold Mordor at bay and the other to kick me off of my throne. And he's like, I know who rides with Théoden. I've heard of this Ranger of the North. You know, I've heard of Aragorn. I'll never bow before him. Type rhetoric. And yeah, he's kind of just at this point kind of seems like he's gone insane.
Yeah, he doesn't seem right.
And it's like what I mentioned when we had that flashback in the second movie to Boromir, you know, giving his speech over Osgiliath once they took it back and seeing Denethor. A lot of people, as I said then, you know, like a lot of people watched this movie and they're like, oh man, he's just a mean dude. And it's like, no, once you get, like, if you get into the backstory and the lore and whatnot, like, and like I said before, like, he's been having, like, basically a battle of wills with Sauron, trying to get information, trying to, you know, do his best to defend Gondor, and has essentially slowly been losing his mind. And so, like, a lot of people see this and be like, man, he's just a jerk. And it's like, no, there's actually, like, a tragic story there that goes on with Denethor. Because, like, before, like, yeah, he doesn't really think much of Faramir, but, like, he was doing right by his people, leading as best he could, you know, trying to put forth that strong front, slowly losing his mind to basically, you know, a fallen angel that could break his neck with his pinky, you know?
Yeah.
And so, like, there's actually, like, a tragic story there. It's not just Denethor being a jerk to be a jerk.
Right. Gandalf and Pippin walk, though, out, and they go to the end of the large overlook. Gandalf tells why the white tree is withered, as their king isn't present. Pippin notices in the distance Mardar. Says this, a storm is coming. Gandalf says this storm is functioning as a cover for the orcs.
Yeah, it's like was kind of mentioned in the first movie in Lothlorien with Celeborn as he's talking to Aragorn. You know, when they first saw the Uruk-hai moving during daylight, and he says something along the lines of, like, you know, orcs rarely move during the day, but these ones have done so, type things. Like, Sauron's making this storm to you know, blot out the sun so his orcs can move faster and move easier to go kill everybody.
We cut to Sam and Frodo following Gollum. Frodo pauses and says that he doesn't think he'll be coming back from this journey. Sam says he will come back, just like Bilbo did. They approach a statue. Frodo says he thinks this was once the kingdom of Gondor. They see the head of a statue with a crown of flowers, and Sam comments on it. We cut back to Gandalf and Pippin. Pippin is in the service of the steward, so he needs to do as he's told, which appears to be fight with them.
Yeah,
meanwhile, Gandalf is coughing.
Sorry.
I don't know.
Because you mentioned Pippin being in, you know, the service of the stewards and whatnot. So he's looking at some armor and stuff that they've given him, more ceremonial than anything. But one character that they don't have in the movie that's in the book, and he's a really cool character. What's his name? Not Barethor. I'm drawing a blank on his name now. But he's a really cool character, and because Pippin is assigned to be one of the members of the Citadel Guard, as again like a ceremonial position for his service. And in the books, he becomes friends with this like captain of the guard. And he's a really cool and interesting character, and just like kind of has like a wisdom to him that it would seem like he wouldn't have. You know, he seems to have like kind of like almost like a Gandalf figure. You know, like he's he looks like he's like an older guy, but like he knows so much more than he probably should. Like, kind of gives off that vibe like he's been around a long time, and you know, and I was kind of upset when I first learned about him after seeing the movies, and he wasn't part of the movies. But yeah, Gandalf is talking with Pippin here and smoking his weed and getting high, and they throw a rager and get drunk, and it's a great.
There we go. Yeah, he smoking his pipe weed, coughing like no other. Pippin comments that there is no more stars. He then asks if there's any hope left for Frodo and Sam. Gandalf says that the enemy approaches. Right. Maybe Evan can explain, but multiple groups are under the command of Mordor. I don't know what I meant by this.
Yeah, so it goes from Gandalf and Pippin talking, and we see Gandalf's kind of narrating. He says, "Legions of Haradrim from the south, mercenaries on the coast," and so it's referring to. So remember in the second movie, there's that ambush before Frodo and Sam get captured by Faramir, and we see the elephants and the men walking and whatnot. Mm-hmm. More of those soldiers coming from southern lands further to the east and south, coming to answer the call of Mordor. Enemies, a group of, a kingdom that's been enemies of Gondor for like hundreds, if not thousands of years. Then you have these essentially pirates, corsairs, from another country further to the east, coming again, answering the call of Mordor. Again, another kingdom that's been enemies of Gondor for years upon years. And it's basically just Gandalf explaining to Pippin that, Sauron's amassing any and everybody that will fight against Gondor and the kingdoms of the West. Is basically what's happening.
Gandalf says...
Yeah.
Go ahead. Gandalf says that Sauron has yet to reveal his deadliest servant, the Witch King of Angmar, the one that stabbed Frodo with the Morgul blade. No living man can kill him. He's the Lord of the Nazgul.
Yeah. And so if
and
anybody
Minas
remembers
Morgul
back
is
to,
his lair.
Yeah, if anybody remembers back to the Fellowship of the Ring, I gave his name back then just as like a kind of forewarning to like that's who they're referring to. That same guy that I referenced back then. Same character. And yeah, Minas Morgul. And because he says Minas Morgul is his lair, and then we see Frodo, Sam, and Smeagol approaching Minas Morgul. And Smeagol refers to it as the Dead City. And Minas Morgul actually used to be called Minas Ithil, and was actually a forward fortress for Gondor. And when Sauron came back with his armies and whatnot, he actually took over Minas Ithil and turned it into Minas Morgul. And it's got like that green glow to it. That's like the Nazgul, their power and basically their corruption of the city. Turning it into their own fortress, their forward base of operations to attack.
Yeah, because it's illuminated like the Northern Lights.
Yeah, it's a really cool looking, like it's a really cool scene.
Yeah, it looks really neat.
Like it looks really neat, and it looks like I don't want to go there. That looks terrifying and cool at the same time.
Yeah. Gollum shows them the stairs that were mentioned earlier. Frodo tries to approach the fortress, mindlessly walking like an idiot.
Yeah, again, the ring playing with his mind. Some more ring influence.
Sam and Gollum run up and grab him, pull him back. We then see the Witch King riding a fell beast, armored up. Gandalf comments that the great battle of their time is coming.
Yeah, because they're at Minas Morgul. I don't know if it's the Witch King doing something or what exactly, but this huge pillar of light goes streaming up into the air. With Frodo and Sam and Gollum, it basically like creates an earthquake right there where they're at. And Pippin and Gandalf actually see it all the way from Minas Tirith. Like I said, it's just this screaming pillar of green light, like just shooting up into the sky. And that's when Gandalf is like, it's time. They're coming. We screwed.
And we see an army march out of the fortress. Frodo, Sam, and Gollum hide. Then Gollum leads them on up the stairs, which is basically just like rock climbing. It doesn't seem to be very good stairs.
It's like you can see that it was once stairs. Like you can see that stairs were there, but it looks so weathered and like so ancient that it's basically just like little platforms that are sloped. You know, I wouldn't want to try and walk up it.
Yeah, me neither.
That's for sure.
But Gollum leads them up and into a tunnel. Sam pulls Gollum aside and threatens him, saying if anything happens. And that's where I kind of chose right before they head into the tunnel to end this first part. The timestamp is literally 1 hour and 22 seconds, so it's right at about an hour. And
Yeah.
I thought that would be a good spot.
Yeah, and because like right there as well, as Sam's kind of like threatening Gollum, he's just kind of smiling. Like Gollum knows he's gotten into Frodo's mind. Like this fat hobbit can threaten me all he wants, but I know Master will protect me. You know, it's kind of got that look on his face. Like, yeah, go ahead and try it, buddy.
Yeah, he does. But that wraps up our first part coverage of Return of the King. Finally, we are done recording for the night.
Yeah.
I think that I have the energy in me to do 3 episodes, just not at this time of night. Because I'm falling asleep. I'm pretty tired here.
Yeah.
But hey, we're done. So hope you guys enjoyed it. Hope you learned some stuff. Hope that you come back. Check out our YouTube channel, You're in Depth. Link will be in the show notes in the description. As usual, we've got our 1,000 download blooper reel goal thing, so keep those coming. YouTube views will count towards that of the full length podcast episodes. If we start doing shorts, that's not gonna, but you know, so. Yeah, and then we got our...
Yeah, like always, every 25 Apple reviews.
Yep.
Excuse me.
And also...
we'll do a live stream coverage of whatever we're covering at that time.
Right, and make sure to also leave us a rating on Spotify if you have that as your primary listening platform. I don't know.
Yeah.
Either way, peace out. Check out the link.
Peace.
Deuces.